Hey there. Today I'd like to tell you a tale. A story based in the distant past which I believe contains important lessons. Our story tells us of an experience in the life of a priest. A priest who, due to his great knowledge of tradition and attention to detail, has been given the important duty of visiting each and every monastery in his jurisdiction. Normally this job is very easy. He simply attends and watches the monks go around their daily business. If he notices that an innovation or an error has creeped up or snuck into one of their rituals, he will correct it. If he sees there's an area of their practice which needs improvement, he will educate them on this. Today, however, he's visiting a monastery which has been believed to be closed for 25 years. A plague had hit the monastery all those years ago, and everyone believed that all the monks had perished due to illness. But a misplaced fishing boat had unfortunately washed up on the island and had discovered that it was still inhabited. 2 young trainee monks had survived the plague, and for all this time they have been continuing the tradition and running the monastery on their own. Now it's his job to visit the island and make sure everything's in order. The journey to the island is long and arduous, and it takes a very skilled person to get there. The tides are unpredictable and require precise timing to make sure that the boat is not dashed against many rocks that protrude from the sea around the island. When he eventually arrives, he's very tired, and as he puts his feet onto the sand, initially he's very happy to see the 2 monks standing there. He feels a tremendous sense of love and happiness coming from them as they serenely look back at him, happy to see him too. After they exchange their greetings and start to walk back to the monastery, he notices something. They're not actually wearing the clothing of a monk, and he asks them about this. They explain that over the many years they've been there, their original vestments wore out, and they had to innovate with whatever they had to make the clothing that they're wearing now. The priest is horrified. He explains to them that they took an important vow, and that whether there are people there or not, they must find a way to wear the outer symbols of that vow. The 2 monks apologise for their terrible failing and promise that they'll find a way to correct this. This, however, isn't the last thing that our priest is to be horrified by. As he starts to spend days with them, he realises that everything has changed in the decades they've been alone. Objects that were broken were never replaced or were substituted for other items. Prayers are mispronounced, skipped over, or completely confused. When he looks in the library, he notices that after the first few years the monks stopped doing their correct duties of copying the scriptures word for word and started actually studying them and writing notes actually on the holy books. worst of all, they have moved their daily prayers from within the chapel out into the woodlands. And when questioned about this, they explain that after the first 5 or 6 years, the chapel felt different, and that the prayer no longer worked as well there anymore, and they found it worked best outside. So now they sit for several hours every day in silent prayer, no matter what the weather. When asked what they meant by the prayer working correctly, they said they felt more connected in their heart out there. This is a grave error which needs to be corrected, he explained. Over the next 4 weeks, the priest did his best to educate the 2 monks. Their understanding of the scriptures was extremely poor and almost childish in its simplicity. And they were not good students, having established a routine for so long and finding it very hard to adapt to the high level of detail needed for what they are meant to be doing. Due to the timing of the tides, it was a late night when the boat came to pick the priest up to return to the mainland. And it was with a heavy heart that he stepped onto the boat, knowing that much of his work was in vain here, and that he didn't really believe that these 2 would ever be proper monks. As they waved goodbye to him, he felt a sense of relief as the island disappeared into the distance. Looking through the darkness, he could just make it out on the horizon, and felt that soon he'd be back to civilization, where people knew how to do things correctly, and where he could dedicate his time to those who would be better students. At that moment, something caught his eye. Something very mysterious. It was like a star had fallen into the sea, but was moving towards him. After a few moments, there was another. What appeared to be one was in fact 2 stars, becoming bigger moment by moment. As these 2 balls of glowing white light edged within view, he could see there were figures. Were they angels? What was happening? Soon he could make out who they were. The 2 monks were running on the sea, across the water, glowing with a divine light, with their prayer beads in their hand, muttering the most simple of prayers under their breath. As they got close to the boat, they stopped and stood there before him. "I'm very sorry, Father. We've forgotten so much of what you said. We've tried to go through some of the ceremonies you taught us. Can you please come back for a while and teach us the correct way to worship?" In the moment, the priest spoke for the first time, not from his head, but from his heart. "My sons, I'm very sorry. It's me that needs to learn from you. Whatever practice you are currently engaged in, this is the correct way."